Hello, welcome back. I hope that you're doing okay. If you are interested in making a terrarium with me for the first time, then stick around because this is our first attempt that we made today and I'm going to take you through it step by step. And I've taken all the advice that's out there and we've added a few twists of our own. We've also overcome a few challenges as we were doing it, so hopefully you'll pick up some tips as a newbie because there are a few things you work out as you go along. It's really good fun. A terrarium is basically Latin for enclosed earth, so you're just creating your own little ecosystem in whatever kind of jar or bottle you can get your hands on. So you could do a miniature one in an old jam jar, or you can go right up to this kind of scale. This is actually a dedicated vessel that we got from a garden centre, but you can do whatever you want and use whatever you can get your hands on. If you want to do it with kids, I wouldn't recommend using cacti. I'd go for something more friendly, but you can actually go out into your garden and find plants and try stuff out that way. There's some basic things that you need that I'll talk you through in the video that you will need consistently for all of these. Also, one other thing to be aware of, there's two types of terrarium. You've got the ones where you've got the airflow and the access here, and you've got ones that are completely sealed. The ones that are completely sealed suit plants that thrive in that kind of moist atmosphere, so not cacti because they need a bit of the airflow and you want some access to them. The other ones though, once you've done them and you shut them up, they then basically self-water through the condensation, so they just become this completely self-sufficient habitat that can survive and thrive for decades. So they're amazing. We're going to have a go at one of those as well, but everything that you learn in this you can apply to that as well. And this is nice if you're looking for something a bit more vibrant and fun, and if you like cacti, which we do. So enjoy and good luck. So first things first, what are we going to need for this project? Well, I've got everything lined up here in the order we're going to use it pretty much, so hopefully that's helpful. First of all, you need some gravel, and that's what you're going to put in at the bottom, and that's what gives you your drainage. So if you accidentally overwatered, that means that your plants aren't going to end up sitting in like really soggy soil and potentially, you know, being ruined. So that just is a bit of a backup plan really, but also it can look really nice. So we've got some white gravel, and this is a really key part of the look for us. So that's going to sit at the bottom, a nice layer of that. And then to help to preserve that look, we are adding, which I haven't seen anyone do before, but we're hoping it's going to work out, a layer of this, which is like a filtration from our fish tank. And that's just going to ensure that the soil that we use doesn't start to contaminate the gravel and ruin the white look. So we're hoping that that's going to keep a purer look. On top of that, we're going to add this, which is activated carbon. Now this is also for filtration, and it's also for helping stop bacteria growth and just keeping a bit of a purer environment in there. We don't need very much of that, but we will just add a little bit more onto the top of this. We're hoping you won't be able to even see this, to be honest, so that will be like a secret layer. On top of that, you need your compost or your soil. Now, because we are planting cacti, we've gone for the specialist cactus and succulent repotting mix. Now, you'll need to look into what soil you need depending on what you are putting, because it can vary. For a lot of things, bog standard mix is absolutely fine, but just be careful to get that right, of course. And you need to have, obviously you're going to use as much of that as will work in your particular glass arrangement, but also when you use your soil, if you're doing something that's smaller, you'll need to put enough in that your plants can take root and that they can get growing, so enough for those roots to just establish. Now that brings me on to our cacti. So we've got a really fun selection of cacti here. As you can see, they're at different layers and different heights, so we will start with the highest ones at the back and work our way down. And as you can see, this is quite a big glass jar, so we are hoping that they will grow and thrive in here, and some of them will reach the top and it will look really nice, and then it gives you that wow factor of how do plants that big get in a bottle that small. It's like the ship in a bottle kind of scenario. So if we do everything right, hopefully it will grow, and these things can go on forever. I mean, particularly the ones where people have them completely sealed, some of them have been going on for decades, so it is a really fun, exciting project to nurture from that perspective. In terms of which cacti we've chosen, we actually bought these from Wilkinson's because we often just plan things that we're going to do the day before and don't always want to wait around for deliveries. So it was pretty cool in there because they had a really good selection and they weren't too expensive either. They were all a couple of pounds, but we've gone for varying heights, varying shapes, as you can see. And this red one is really fun. That was a really good colour as well. Also, I think the green one is quite special. So this one is a Haworthia fascia. Probably not the right pronunciation, but something like that. And this one that I nearly tipped out is rainbow cactus, so that's really cool. I like that one probably the most, but I think this is going to look really good as well, and it's going to work really well with the white. And this is actually just a cactus according to this. Yeah, so it doesn't say any more than that, but hopefully you can get your hands on a good selection like that. And that's going to be really the premise of what we have. Of course, you also need a glass bottle or a glass jar of some description. Now, we've managed to get our hands on quite a big one from a garden centre, so we've got a lot of space to play with here, which is really fun. We have got some smaller ones that we're going to have a go at as well. And this one has got a hole in, and that's because we are planting cacti. Now, some of them are completely concealed environments and they don't have a hole in at all. And once you've planted everything and you've concealed them, they then create their own ecosystem where basically the evaporation will then keep the moisture moving and keep the plants watered and keep them thriving. And like I said, people sometimes don't open them for decades and decades and decades, and they just are a complete ecosystem of their own. So it's amazing. The other thing that you need is some tools, and we made this little filter. This is what we're going to use at the beginning to put these in carefully so that we don't end up breaking or damaging the glass in any way. So that's just a little bit of paper there. And then these are things that we're also going to use to put our soil and our gravel in, and also to then move it around. So we've got some tweezers and we've got this paintbrush here, and once we've got everything in place and we need to manoeuvre it, obviously I don't want to really be sticking my hand in there, but we can use these, and these are really useful in the smaller bottles and the smaller jars as well, where you can't get your hand in at all, to then get everything in exactly the place that you need it. And then finally for us, we are going to add some white sand at the top to just complete our look. So we'll have those layers of a bottom layer at the white at the bottom and then white at the top as well. So hopefully that's going to look really good. Let's get started. So now we're ready to put our soil in. Now, because we've got so much soil in these pots with these cacti already, and I want to interfere with the root systems of these as little as possible so I don't damage them, I'm going to just put a very, very fine layer of soil over the top of what we've got here. Then I'm going to place them in, and then I'm going to build the rest of the soil up around it so that hopefully it will work out better that way and I don't have to start taking soil away from the cacti as they are at the moment. I was just about to do that, and I had a thought about how much soil I was going to need to use to get ourselves up to this level here. This is the point we're trying to get to, and then we will graduate it back. And I'm going to add an extra layer of gravel, which is a more similar colour to the soil. This one we got from the pet shop as well. And I think that's going to just help to integrate it nicely, and also mean that we don't need to use too much soil, because obviously soil is the kind of organic stuff that you've got in there, and that's the bit that's most likely to, you know, where you're going to get the bacterial growth and so on. So you don't want too much soil, so I think this is going to be a good balance if we have this. Okay, so now we're ready for our thin layer of soil. I might just do it with my hands, because actually quite often the best tools, aren't they? Of course, be careful if you're putting your hand inside something glass, but I think it will be the easiest way to get the distribution that we need. This soil is really lovely. It's very fluffy and light. Okay, so we've got some good coverage, a good first layer there. And now we're ready to put our plants in. So it's a prickly little business dealing with cacti, so I've got my gloves on now, and I am going to try and get rid of some of the excess soil from these, but I really don't want to start interfering with them too much, so I've just grabbed myself a bowl, and I'm going to just try and squeeze this out of here without hopefully getting pricked too much. And I think naturally that's just going to shake off. So I'm just going to really, really gently move that off, but I really don't want to touch them too much. Although they are pretty tough, these cacti, aren't they? But we want to give them the best chance that we can. I've picked this one first because it's the tallest, and therefore it's going to go at the back. And it's going to be hard to get the positions exactly right right off the cuff, but we're going to just pop them roughly where we think we need them, and then we can manoeuvre them a little bit once they're in there. Okay, so I think that's good. This is probably the most challenging part of this entire operation, getting this in. Okay, so this one is going towards the back because it's our biggest one, and I am going to try and nestle it in a bit. I'm not going to get it completely in, but in order to, I don't think I'm going to be able to put lots of soil at the back once the others are in, so I do need to get it a little bit established. So I've scraped a bit of a hole at the back, and I'm just going to try and slide it in there. In fact, we'll go this way, that's much more sensible. Now, I have unfortunately come in contact with the soil, so I will need to get my brush out in a minute, and it's really easy to prick yourself with these as well, so you have to be super careful. Okay. Okay, so next up we've got this little green number, which is actually called an elephant's foot, which I think is something to do with this base of the plant here, because it looks a little bit like an elephant's foot. But that's going to bring our real greenery in. So I'm going to try and get this in without damaging it, without pricking myself on anything else, and without knocking the other one over. So wish me luck. There we go, the special twist technique works every time. So we've got those pretty much to where we want them to be for now, and now it's just decision time over the last three and where we're going to put them. Now this green one I feel needs a bit of space to grow, and it looks like it could move and grow outwards. The red one, of course, is a bit of the star of the show really, and that's quite prominent, so I'm going to put that in the middle. And then this one looks like it's going to need a little bit less width than the other one, so I'm going to pop that in the smaller space down here. Now, the thing to think about now is that the next one I've got to put in is the one that I've got the least access to, so furthest away point is here, so I'm going to go for this green one next because I can access that. So we've come across our first little problem, which is going to require some adjustment. The root system of the rainbow cactus is unfortunately too deep, so it's not going to work out in this front position here. So I'm going to have a little jiggle about, probably take this one out actually and bring that further forward and move this to a more secure position at the back. So we're ready for our final stage now, which is adding the white sand on top of here. So I've created this crazy double funnel system and I'm hoping it's going to work out. Let's see. So ta-da, there we go, our finished result, our first ever terrarium, a real beginner's attempt, but actually pretty happy with what we've got there. I think it looks pretty cool. It'd be a nice addition to any home. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you did, as always, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you're new around here, I would love it if you consider subscribing. I post lots of handy home inspiration and content regularly, so it'd be great to have you as a regular viewer. But that's all for today. The very best of luck if you take on your own project. I hope that you come up with something that you love and that you enjoy the process, because of course that's just as important. But that's all for today. Bye bye for now.